Hey tankers, do you like Russian hover heavies? Do you like to put them in your mouth? If you say yes, you are a gay Russian. Jokes aside, guys, this was a South Park reference which I think I didn't really nail that well. Object 777777777777777 version 2. This tank is in the game files now for ages already. Apparently, it's in the game files since 2015. And now, Wargaming decides to do something with it. They decided to push that tank down a tier to tier 9, and some people say that this could be the tier 9 special Frontline reward tank, or maybe rank battles, I don't know. When I asked the German community manager, he said no comments given to either question, which is understandable because they don't want to spoil the surprise. Anywho, still, we can have a look at this tank together. We can compare its stats to the tier 10 version, and I also want to compare the stats to the T10. Not the tier 10, the T10, or the tank which used to be called IS-8. Because I personally thought this tank will be the replacement for the missing tier 10 tank after the T10. I thought the 777 will be the new tier 10 heavy tank, but then the Object 277 came. And this tank once again started to collect dust in the game files. So, this is what Wargaming is basically saying. It's a Soviet tier 9 heavy non-researchable tank, and it's now entering super test once again. And that is pretty interesting because, well, what could it be? Like, non-researchable? Well, could it be brought with gold? No, that would mean it's a premium tank. Could it be rewarded by free experience like the Musashi, like the Kronstadt, like the Alaska in World of Warships, or the Mighty Mo back in the days? But then it could also be it would in theory be a premium. Is it a new reward for an upcoming season of reward tanks like Season 3 with completely new tanks like the 279 was? Or is it really just Frontline or rank battles rewards? We do not sadly know that. Nevertheless, Wargaming is saying that, well, it's low profile, well-sloped side armor. Well, side armor is not really true, but well-sloped armor frontally, yes, and it has the menacing 122mm gun M62T2, which is basically the same gun you will see on tier 10 IS-4, ST1 or STI, I'm not entirely sure, and the T10. So, those are the stats. My face is not in the way, so let's just jump right in with the comparison. Again, we are also right here are comparing the old Object 777 with the T10 because again, I do think the T10 resembles this tank pretty closely. The first thing you will notice is obviously that the tier now is tier 9. Wow, raging! Really now? Damn, dude! Sorry. The second you will notice is that you will lose 300 hit points, which is totally acceptable when you think that 2100 hit points is pretty darn low for a tier 10 vehicle. I think even the 277 has 2200 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I stay to be correct here. The good thing is, because this tank is already in game files, we can have a look at the armor and do not stupid and meaningless intuitional work right here. We have hard facts and we don't need to do guesswork right here. The interesting part is the lower plate. Actually, yes, it is weakest on the lowest part with only 140mm, but the upper plate is pretty darn strong. Yes, here only 110mm, yes, only 90, yes, only 70, and even back here I think it's just 30, you can see right here. Yeah, wait, make it like this, which can be overmatched quite easily. But then again, it's in a really steep slope, and it reminds me of the Chieftain or the T95 FV4201 Chieftain tank, which also has a meh lower plate, but the upper front plate can bounce some shots depending how you use it. Also, one thing you will notice about this tank is its profile. It's pretty darn flat. And another thing which they said is, well-sloped side armor is a little bit of a bollocks right here. Oh, that's weak. That's a good weak spot apparently. But the side armor is not sloped at all, but it's 150 millimeters thick, meaning it's even thicker than you would have on the Object 705A. If I stand to be correct, let's just quickly have a look at it, so don't talk about bogus. Yes, even the side armor of the Object 705 is 15 millimeters worse. Is it a lot? No. Will it help? Yes. That's about that. The turret, however, is also on another level. First things first, you can see that this part right here is 55 millimeters of spaced armor, which is neat, if I do say so myself. Nope, I want a visual model right here. If it loads, that would be great. And those parts right here, you can see those bulges here. I'm not entirely sure what they even should represent, to be honest. Are just spaced armor, meaning they will help your turret to deflect some shots. The turret itself is already pretty darn strong, in my opinion, with 258mm base armor frontally, going pretty darn quickly to 400 and auto ricochet, if I do say so. That is actually pretty darn nifty if you are playing this 7777777 version 2, obviously. It's not nifty, however, that this is a tier 9 vehicle, and yes, the lower plate is pretty strong. Especially you can even angle this tank. We can once more go to the live, and here we are comparing it to the IS-7, the T10 gun, and you can see, yes, lower plate can be penetrated, but here we already have 56% chance. Here, up here, 38, upper plate. Only here, turret maybe, and the cupolas. Yes, I didn't talk about the cupolas yet, but they're freaking small. And 165 millimeters of armor is still pretty strong, especially when they're so small. And the roof is 50 millimeters thick. For that, your rear is, or deck armor is 25, 45, 70, and you can see your belly armor is only 16 millimeters. So basically, RD is going to eat this tank for breakfast. One thing though, which is pretty nifty about this tank is you can see this, yeah, you can't detract this tank with damage frontally. Same case as in a tank like the TS5, same case as in a tank like the T95 or the Object 257. Lastly, I do think high-skill players will excel in this vehicle when they know where they can hide their lower plate and just show the upper front plate in the turret. Don't forget though, 5 degrees of gun depression is pretty darn bad. Yes, but map players will still do decent in it against lower tiered opponents, but same tiered opponents should have no issues punishing this tank, in my personal opinion. Plus, this upper front plate can be weak, I think, against the heat shells, because heat has much easier auto bounce. And don't forget, this tank is really flat. So yeah, chances are you can penetrate it rather easily when you are standing slightly above him. So enough of the armor. Let's go back to the let's use. So, thank you, obviously. 850 horsepower stays the same as a tier 10 vehicle, giving it an HP to ton ratio of 17. But this tank apparently gets lighter, going all the way up to 18, meaning it is, well, 3.25 horsepower per ton faster or better than the T10. That's pretty much a lot, I would say. Yes, the T10 has better ground resistances, but it's not that much better in my personal opinion, and you get 3.25 horsepower per ton more. So that's actually pretty darn good, meaning this hover heavy will be pretty darn fast. The turret traverse with 26 degrees stays the same, is also the same with the tier 10 and the T10. The whole traverse with 28 degrees is 1 degree slower as the tier 10 version and is 5 degrees slower than the T10. And view range, you will lose 10 meters and you are 20 meters blinder than your tech tree counterpart, which is sad to be precise, but yeah, what gives, what can you do? It's not too big of a deal when you have actually better armor, in my personal opinion. 50 kph top speed, totally same with all the three tanks. 15 kilometers per hour backward speed is 1 kilometer slower than the tier 10 version had. Boy, what a nerf. The gun stays the same when it comes to penetration, alpha, and penetration and alpha, but you'll lose a lot in accuracy, 0.4 while you used to have 0.35. The T10 has 0.36. What you gain though is a little bit in aim time, 0.1 second to be precise, and 0.23 or 0.28 seconds, no, 0.18 seconds above the T10. We don't know though the soft stats of the turret, which you can see on the tier 10 version is rather bad in comparison. 13.2 seconds reload time, that's pretty darn long if I do say so myself, because 60 divided 13.2 gives us this, and now for 40 gives us 2000 DPM, which is 238 DPM less than the 777 and what the T10 have. And lastly, the 5 degrees of gun depression. So overall, I do think it is a good tank, and I'm looking forward to try and grind for that tank if it is either ranked battles or frontline. I think it will be frontline, but again, I do not know at all. It might open though the doors that maybe, just maybe, Wargaming decides to also push the Object 268 version 5 down, which is basically a T10 hull with a weird looking turret if it's loading. There we go, T10 hull with this weird looking turret, which is somewhat strongish depending, and well, has the 750 alpha gun of the Object 268, obviously with changed stats. But in theory, this tank could also be pushed down onto tier 9 and be used for this special reward tank, but that would be a little bit lame. Yet it would be nice that this tank would be used, because I do think it is a cool tank. It could also be used for a turret TD line, who knows. Let me know what you think of this tank in the comment section below. Thank you so much for your attention. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, because I am planning to do scout guides sooner or later, and some guides for and against the EBR wheelie boys. And goodbye.